Good morning. It's Wednesday, October 12th at 9:30 a.m., and this is the monthly meeting of the Council on Aging. This council adheres to the open meeting law, and Robert's rules of order are followed during this meeting. I'm Jean Campanello, Vice Chair of this committee. In attendance, we have Holly Lutch, Director of the Senior Center, board members Betsy Zug, Judy Goodstein, Lori Jones, and Alex Roman. We also have a representative from the Friends of the Shrewsbury Senior Center. I would like to, at this point, call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to review and act on the meeting of August 22nd minutes. Are there any questions or comments about them? I'm sorry, the September 14th minutes. Are there any questions or comments on the minutes?
I move they be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Next item on the agenda is to vote for Council on Aging offices. We have the office of President, Vice President, and Secretary that we need to fill at this meeting. Are there any nominations for the office of President?
Is it president or vice or chairman?
Chairman.
Chair.
Oh, yeah, chair.
Okay. I nominate Jean Campanello for chair.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Are there any other nominations for the office of chair? Being none, I would entertain a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Congratulations.
I'm not sure about that.
Although president had a kind of a nice ring to it, too. But
Chair's less
Change
intimidating.
things up a bit.
Chair's a little less intimidating.
there you go.
Okay. Nominations are now open for the office of vice chair. I nominate Judy Goodstein. Are there any seconds?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed?
you.
Oops, sorry.
So moved. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And the office of secretary.
I nominate Lori Jones.
Oh, that was quick.
I've been rehearsing that all month.
I'll second that.
Are there other nominations for secretary?
I nominate Betsy Suk.
My term has expired,
Your term is this, right? Oh, okay, so you can't do that again.
but thank you,
All right, just thought I'd check.
I think.
So the nomination for the office of secretary is for Lori Jones. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? So moved. Congratulations.
Congratulated.
We think, right?
Does that mean I get to stop today?
Not quite yet. But you've done a great job. You really have. You
Yeah,
are
thank
amazing
you.
with the way you
Really.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hmm.
I wouldn't
Quick and
mind talking
accurate
to
and-
you
and
about
time.
your theory for how to put it together.
Oh, I'd be glad to.
Great.
Next on the agenda, we have the representative from the Friends. Jerry?
Good morning, everyone. I just, excuse me, wanted to report on what has been going on with Friends. We had a great turnout for the tea, more than 50 people, and so that was really good for us. This month's entertainment social meeting will be on November 17th, and we have the Highwaymen. I think it's a one-man band, and he does, I don't know if anybody remembers the Highwaymen way back, and so he does all the songs of that quartet. And so that's what we're doing in this month. I'm sorry. I was chasing cats around this morning and my brain is not in gear yet. And then I lost my paper somewhere between home and here, so I had everything written down. Sorry about that. So that's about it. Next month, I'll report on what's going on next month, but you can get the details from the website and the senior center. So thank you.
Could I ask a question, Jerry?
Sure.
Did you say that the highwayman will be singing on he will be singing on the 17th of November or October?
October. I
Of
probably said
October.
November, but as I
Okay.
said, I've been
All right,
a
thanks.
little bit distracted this morning.
I'm sorry, what time is that meeting?
1 o'clock.
Okay.
All set?
All set. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is to review and act on financial reports.
Yep,
Holly?
so as you all know, my duties now consist of the administrative duties, as well as the volunteering duties, of everything that was being done by the assistant director. So I apologize, for the format for this month, as far as, just giving the totals of each account. I am trying to teach my way through Munis, and it's not as easy as you would think that it is. So I don't know if there are any questions with the numbers that I did give you.
I have a question about the format, though.
Mhm.
Is that, I don't think we need, it doesn't need to, we would prefer the details.
Mhm.
We've discussed that. It doesn't need to be in a pretty spreadsheet. Is there a way without you spending hours and hours trying to learn a new system, because the assistant director's gone, is there a way for you to just print out the information, like a check register, just print that
Well,
out?
I have to learn
Or
how-
a screenshot or something that would lessen the load on you, but give us the information we want.
Well, to do those things that you mentioned takes learning through how to navigate through a financial software like Munis. It's not as easy as just going to account inquiry and downloading all of those things, because we have 7 different accounts. There are things called like orgs and projects, and there's a lot of different buttons that go into retrieving that information. And so I'm doing my very best, and I'm hoping that each month I'll have a little bit more progress. But this was my first one, along with my first time doing payroll and invoices and deposits and the website. So I'm not trying to make up excuses, but it's a lot to have been put on my plate in just a couple of days.
I was just trying to see if there was something that would kind of work for everybody, if there was if you can, there's not a view where you just see what would be essentially a check register.
No.
This is what we spend, and show the different, checks.
There, like I said, there's just a lot of different screens and different formulas that, like for instance, for me to transfer something, I have to type 01. Well, I had no idea I had to type 01, so it took me forever to figure out how to transfer something. So, it's those little things I'm just trying to learn and hopefully get to the point where we were before. It's been a long week. So if anybody has anything, that you really, really need to know, if you can kind of give me a day, I can hopefully find somebody to help me work through that.
I'm just, and I understand that you're overwhelmed with all of what Christine did, because she really did an incredible job, but I'm just thinking if, in the interim, if there is a way in which we could be told about unusual expenditures or expenditures that are above the norm, or that are just something that will occur occasionally, sort of the outliers.
Right. Well, I mean, I can speak to those kind of things. So, you know, if there's an event coming up like our next big event besides the movies, where I bought some candy because we're showing like 3 different movies in October. Our next big event is November. And I guess we're going to be jumping ahead because so I don't have to repeat myself later. But so the Veterans Luncheon obviously comes with some expenses, whether it's the paperware, the food, things like that. The seniors still believe in December, where we're collecting gifts for everybody. There'll be expenses that come with that, as well as minimal expense coming with the holiday light tours. I usually just go out and buy pastries or coffee to make sure that we have it available for that evening. But anything else, I don't foresee anything happening. I know that September brought a lot, but we all knew that that was coming too. But certainly, if I am expecting any big expenses, I always let the board know if something happens, if time allows. Like obviously, if I have to get something for the vans, that might take a little bit longer. But as far as unusual expenses, I don't know that there have been, but I will definitely keep you informed as we go forward.
Okay, thank you. Alex?
Holly, can you say, do you have enough information to know whether you're trending on budget?
Yes, I mean, so not much has changed since last month.
Right.
So the only thing that really changes, well, it doesn't even change. It's just the salaries. So salaries are the things that, we're using the money out of the general fund. Any other questions?
You wanted to talk a little bit about the formula grant. Do you want to do that now, or do you want to do that later?
I'm not sure.
You had sent an email saying, think about.
Oh, right. Well, no, I was thinking, and I thought I had mentioned this, that this is something we could talk about in November.
Right.
Since I haven't had a lot of responses, and I'm trying to work with also some COA directors to see if they have made any expenses that we could use the funds for in a bigger way that supports the Council on Aging and the Senior Center. So I would say let's make that a November agenda item.
Yes.
To talk about the formula grant.
And then people will have an opportunity to think about it over the next month or so and come up with any options for use of the money. So we can use it all up.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have one more question, sorry. Just getting back to the detail, would it be possible to provide it for just one account? So it's not doing it for all 4 or 6?
So
'Cause I think that, that most of them go through the town manager, or it's grant, or, the gift fund is the discretionary fund.
they all go through the town manager. So I am responsible for all of the accounts, and then I'm responsible for the accounts to the town manager, and then report those findings right back to you guys. So all of the accounts are all followed by Kevin Mizikar. I think I mentioned something to you last month about how immediately he saw something because there was a PO.
Yeah, you did.
So all of those accounts are monitored quite frequently by our accounting department and the town manager's office. But, so to answer your question, once I learn how to do one, I'll be able to learn how to do them all.
Okay, I just thought perhaps,
Yep. Yep.
it would be 25% or less of the work, maybe, but if it's learning the process.
And just sort of an aside, I did look at the gift fund from last month and this month, and there was very little expenditure in that one. I think
Yeah.
$134, so there wasn't a significant change in that account. I know that Renee is not here to do an outreach update, but
I don't think much has changed. I know that she is trying to nestle down some new support programs for the winter, since we're finally done with all of the events. She continues to do the wellness calls with her volunteers. She has been out and about in the community to the library and to the housing authority complexes, as well as Orchard Grove. She and Cynthia both went there to present, and my hopes is to get them to benchmark and things like that. But other than that, she's going, full steam ahead. She's working on her SWOT analysis for the strategic plan for the Council on Aging Department. So, she and the rest of the staff are doing that.
There's
And-
also a pretty comprehensive report of her activities in the most recent Senior Center
Right.
newsletter.
Mhm.
If, for anybody that wants to know what she's been doing. She's been busy.
Yep.
Do you know whether there has been any further analysis of the data from that survey? And
I don't believe so. I think at this point, what we were doing was still trying to, right now she was looking at all of the people that hand wrote things in, which is taking time for her to, compile them all between categories, if you will. What she plans on doing with that, I'm not sure. I know that with some of the information that she's found, she's already trying to create programs going into the winter that are related to those, but specifically, I'm not sure which ones, except for, I know she's doing like a pet therapy program or a health fair or something like that. So I know that she's working on that. Excuse me.
pet therapy at the senior center?
Pet therapy programs, like where people can go, things like that. So we really don't have pets in the senior center unless they're
Artificial.
services.
Therapy dogs are service animals. It's official ones, not the ones that.
Yes, so this is just something down the pipeline, so we already talked about, like, if we ever had kind of like a health fair that involved pets, a majority of it would have to be outside, so I'm guessing that this is probably gonna be a spring event. So, but that's all I have on, for Renee at this time.
Any further questions of Holly?
I do.
Yes.
Did you, it looked like Alex.
I do also. So the assistant's position is posted, and you're in the process of interviewing or recruiting. Have you had many applicants? Can you speak to that?
Excuse me, Alex, can we just finish with the Renee, the
The
outreach,
outreach.
and then we'll
Oh,
go back to that?
sure.
I'm
I had
sorry.
one
Go
quick
ahead, Judy.
Just to follow up on the survey results. When they first came out, my understanding was that the comments that people put on the forms were being, whatever, typed and input somewhere, and you were gonna upload it to the Google Drive.
So that's what I was just talking of, that's what's taking her a really long time to get all of those things put in. So those things are up, I think those are already typed in, but it's about separating them into categories that will assist in outreach with the responses, just the written responses. So I believe that those are already in. I'm just not sure which drive I know she has a couple of different drives for a couple of different scenarios. I'm not exactly sure where they are. I would have to ask her to share them.
Okay.
So Alex, you had a question about the the assistant director.
Right, and I didn't mean to tag it on this. I was thinking it was part of the director's report.
Okay.
So, yes, just if you can say anything on the process of filling that position.
Yep, so it's posted in a few different places, and we've received probably 20 applications, and to date, I've interviewed 4, and we're still in the process of interviewing. And I was hoping to be wrapped up this week, but we might have to extend it one more week, and then go into second interviews.
Thank you.
So are you unhappy with the total number of applicants from this first round?
I wouldn't say that I'm happy about the number of applicants. I'm surprised by the difference between what we're receiving now versus what we were receiving 2.5 years ago. So in comparison, it's definitely like a lower pool, if you will.
Other questions, comments?
I'm sorry, one other question.
Yes.
Actually, more comment. I am, and maybe everybody else could too, if we're not already doing it. I did push it out on my social media when I saw that, so that other people can see that the position is available, just to hopefully get us a good cohort
Yep.
of interviewees.
It's interesting that there are fewer qualified applicants now than you were
Well, I'm
seeing
not
a
so
few
much-
years ago.
Well, I'm not so much talking about, when I said lower pool, it wasn't about the qualifications. It's just, you know, you used to be inundated with the amount of applications
Okay.
coming in. So, you know, there was a wider range of applicants. And so looking at the ones that we have now, I guess I expected a lot of people interested in the position or looking for work, and that, I mean, I guess you're just seeing it everywhere
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah.
It's across all industries.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good with stuff that Christine did, but if you need help from any of us, I think we're all willing to sort of pitch in and do what we can to facilitate
Well,
getting some of this done.
right, so when opportunities come up, like I did, I think it was like last week, about us being short receptionists and things like that, those are the things that affect the entire office, you know? So if I'm having to do my own responsibilities, but still answer the phone in a timely manner and things like that, so office assisting would really help us out a lot. And I know everybody has their lives and stuff like that, so we've had a great bunch of our volunteer receptionists that have been doing like double and triple duty, so, you know, we couldn't do it without them.
Good. Do you want to talk about programs and events?
Yes, so actually, the first one is an update on the policy subcommittee, so I'm gonna hand that over to Judy.
Okay. Well, the policy subcommittee finally completed our draft, which was attached to Holly's email. I don't know if everyone has had a chance to read it. It needs to be approved by the town manager before the board can vote on it. So it's attached for informational purposes at this point, but we can't vote on it or really discuss, you know, what changes we might want to make to it until the town manager gets back to me. I sent it to him about 2 weeks ago, and I reminded him recently, and his response was that he wants to meet with Holly before he whatever, gives us input. So I know you're swamped, but if you and Kevin can at some point meet with each other, then we can get this moving. There were a couple of things on it that I did want to point out. You know, hopefully everyone can read it so that then once the town manager has given his input, we can just be familiar. But there were changes we made to policy that I think that, people need to be cognizant of things that are different in here. We put in term limits for board members, which had not been done before. So we have that board members can serve 2 consecutive terms, and, that's the term limit. We also put in an obligation to actually attend board meetings, that board members cannot miss more than 3 meetings in a 12-month period of time. And if they do miss 3 meetings in a 12-month period of time, they are then referred to the town manager for dismissal from the board. And then we put in that board members should be required to participate in 2 programs per year, which had never been a requirement either, but, it fosters an active board. And we put in also a term limit for officers, that you can't serve in any specific officer role for more than the 1-year term. So those were the,
Consecutive term.
yes. In other words, if you're the chair, and then a year from now we vote again for chair, Jean would have to then sit out
a year before, she could serve a different role. She could be vice chair or secretary. Anyway, that was a change we put in. We don't need to discuss it. In fact, we're not supposed to discuss it. I'm just highlighting right now what changes we made, and once our town manager has had a chance to review it and get back to me, then it will be open for discussion and vote.
So I was under the impression that we could, as a board, just discuss it or ask questions or ask
Yeah, we just can't vote on it.
comments. We just can't vote on it.
You're right, actually. I take it back.
And I didn't know if anybody, after having read
Looked
it,
like,
had comments or
yeah.
questions that they wanted to share with the board.
I have a question.
Yes,
What
Lily.
is the thinking that you're only a chair for 1 year? Why is that?
I think that was a recommendation from Holly, correct?
I think it was, yeah, so sometimes the overlap of when new board members come on, to give the opportunity for the rotation of having new ideas, new opportunities for each of the board members.
And we have a variety of different terms for each board member?
Each board member serves, I believe it's 2 years, right?
3.
3 years?
It's
3
3
years.
years.
Each
Yeah.
appointment is for 3 years.
Right, so, I guess having been a member of so many different organizations across many years, I often think that it is nice to have turnover, but it's also good to have continuity. And sometimes if you have people come out of a position too quickly, then you lose some of the information that you had before, and it takes time for people to get up to speed. It's the learning curve, as you're experiencing right now with what you're going through with having lost Christine and trying to, and even then, it's going to be, you're going to get somebody else new, and they have to get up to speed. But it's true for a board, too. So just thinking about that, I'm wondering whether 1 year is too little.
And point of clarification, it doesn't say 1 year. It says 1 consecutive term. But
So-
nowhere does it specify 1 year. I think that was reported incorrectly, Judy.
Reported by me just now in
Yes.
speaking, or in, okay, I apologize, then I misspoke.
So I don't think it is 1 year, Laura.
Okay,
we
so
I
it
think
can
it's a
be more than.
consecutive term.
I said
which is-
1 year because the term is 1 year.
Yes, because we had this discussion.
Yeah, we had this discussion. In fact, I'm sorry, I'm not reading the document. I'm going from my memory of what's in the document. So, we had this discussion about when the election of officers are, because it's had been traditionally the October board meeting, but then you have board members, or we have in the past year or two, that have left for various reasons during their, before their term has expired, so then that sometimes necessitates another vote in the interim.
Well, so we wind up losing people, but just through attrition.
Yes.
For life events or whatever
Yeah.
reason they have to leave.
So we did not, I believe, specify the length of a term.
We did
because
not.
I remember having this discussion in the meeting because I
Yeah.
was getting confused between the length of a term in an office and the length
Right.
of term on the
Right.
board.
Right.
Right.
But that's something we could go back and
We can clarify that.
discuss.
And discuss whether we want to keep the 1 year.
Yeah.
Again, it's more for continuity, because one person can leave and then you lose a lot of recent history sometimes when you have
I
that
agree.
happen. Or the fact that we already have a term limit as a board member for 3 years. I don't know, I think 2 years is kind of a nice compromise,
Okay.
but that's just my opinion. I don't want to defer,
I would agree. Having worked with a number of boards, I think a 1-year term, particularly for the chair, is too short.
I
It
agree.
takes you a few months or a month or two to get up to speed, and I think the continuity is important, especially in that position.
So then the suggestion would be that we identify the length of each office as a 2-year term. Is that correct?
No, that you can get reelected for a 2-year term.
Not reelected, no.
No.
The way this reads, I thought they could Yeah, it's no more than one consecutive term in any specific office. So,
So the question is, what do we
Right.
mean by a consecutive term?
Well, we
Right.
would have
Is
to
it-
identify
That's
the
what I-
number
yes.
so each elected office would have to be for a 2-year term. Correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
I guess
So when,
so.
so let's say, we just elected officers, so it's good to, it's a good example.
Right.
So October 2023 meeting, if the 3 people that were just elected are still on the board, then we don't have an election, is that what we're?
Well, it depends on how long we say the officer's term is.
But if we say a 2-year term, I'm just trying to understand what you're.
So then there would be no election next fall.
That's what I'm saying, yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand.
But what we haven't clarified is how long is the term for an
Right.
officer? That's the bottom line.
Right. Well,
And that's what we need to
This document
discuss.
says one consecutive term. We haven't, you're right.
We
need
That's
haven't
why I said
clarified what a
that.
consecutive, but you had
Okay.
said a
Well, that's why I
year.
said a year, because that was my understanding of what
Yeah, I
we
don't
had
think
been
that's
Colleagues.
accurate.
Well, and that would mean if somebody only had 1 year left, if you do 2 years, that they're not eligible to be on.
I wanted to clarify something that you just said, Lori, by the way. The board member's term, you're setting aside officers, is 3 years, and the term limit we put on that is 2, that you can serve 6 years. You can
You
serve.
may.
You may.
Right.
Yes.
Unless someone leaves. What we could do to handle this is you could say that a term for an officer is 1 year, but they can be reelected the next year. So in other words, you could make, because that then takes care of the part where they might be leaving because their term is up and they've decided that they've had enough time helping us. So that could be one way to do it, but yes, you still, then if everybody's happy with the job the person has been doing for the year, then they can continue on for another year. We can reelect them for another year. I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there as a
So
way to
can I make a
handle the
motion?
terms versus being a board member
That's a good
versus being
idea.
an officer.
Can I make a motion that we take this under advisement and discuss this at the subcommittee meeting on the 17th?
Yes. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so moved.
So the next one is seniors.
Well, I'm sorry. Before we move on to the next item, are there other issues on the draft form that anyone wants to talk about?
Did you talk about subcommittees at all?
Yes.
Is that on here?
Yeah, it
Did
is.
I miss it?
It is, it's.
Oh, there it is, created as
Under
needed.
responsibilities of board members.
It also says that, and I'm sorry, but I can't find the section right now, but it says, didn't it say that subcommittees are
In the format of the
staffed
board
by
meetings.
board members?
It's in the last bullet point of the format of the board meetings.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It seems to me there ought to be like a finance subcommittee, and
We discussed that. We discussed that. Well, there should be a full board discussion of that.
of what the subcommittees should be. And it could be a one-member subcommittee. I've done that with small boards.
Is that something you're interested in?
Which part?
Being the finance subcommittee?
I hadn't really
Be
thought about
careful.
it. I mean, yeah, I know. I could be interested in that, but I wasn't thinking of it in terms of my own personal interest. It just seems like it's helpful to have someone who's kind of the point person for some key functions of the board.
It's a very good suggestion.
You know, I've heard of planning subcommittees, and I guess this says ad hoc, so, okay. Doesn't say ad hoc, but essentially, I mean, that's what it means.
But you're talking about a standing subcommittee as a.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a
Holly?
question. What would be the purpose of the Finance Subcommittee?
To review the financial reports in more detail so that that person's kind of a point person, or and the budget, I guess, also. Those are probably the two main functions. And can give the director some feedback on those ideas, or so questions, clarification, and feedback on those.
Okay.
Do you foresee that as, let's say we're getting the detailed financial report, perhaps it can go to the subcommittee and then the subcommittee reports at the board meetings rather than everybody asking all their individual questions at the board meetings?
I've seen it done both ways. I mean, this is a small enough function here that I think we could keep it with the director doing the presentation. That makes the most sense, because the director is going to be able to answer the questions the best.
I'm just trying to understand what you're suggesting, so that's all.
Right. If it sounds vague, it's because it is.
Well, I'm just thinking that
Right.
it might then tighten the board meetings, which is something Holly's been looking for, if we have a subcommittee perform that function
Right.
in lieu of the full board performing it.
Like we've done for the policy.
Mm-hmm. This might be
Actually,
an item for a
that's a
future
good
agenda.
point.
Okay.
Thank you for that
Yeah,
suggestion.
I think
We'll
that
bring
that
it back
makes
to
some
the
sense.
committee.
And maybe it does make sense to have
And I'm
that
wondering
committee report.
as well, Holly, when you meet with Kevin over the, you haven't met with him yet, is that
No.
correct?
No.
When you meet with him, you might indicate this is what occurred at this board discussion and get his thoughts on that.
So that
Okay.
rather than having, being bombarded with questions at the board meeting, you can just meet with the subcommittee and,
Meet with which subcommittee?
if there is one, at the Finance Subcommittee.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. So that concludes our discussion on the policy subcommittee. Next is the senior center statistics.
Yep, so that was the sheets that I had ready when you all walked in today. I apologize for not getting it out with the other materials. So what I did was, I did a generic one, statistic report. And I started with, if you can see, it says event statistics from 7/1/2018 to 7/1/2019. And those, each of the 4 pages is a different year. And you can see, as you scroll through, the numbers change, how the numbers change. And they change kind of drastically at the end for our last year.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Wow. Almost back up to past pre-COVID.
Right. Wow.
So there's a lot of different statistics I can give you. I can give you like the age statistics and things, but I thought that this was the most important as far as the function of the senior center.
This also, I think, is great to look at in terms of moving forward with which programs are used and which programs are underused.
Mhm.
And
Does anybody have any questions on any kind of statistics or the ones that I gave you all to look at?
Question.
Mhm.
What is the support group? Is that just for?
So that could be like a grief and loss support groups that Renee runs. She offers a few different support groups.
It's increased dramatically. from the 3 previous years. It just, which is what
Probably
we're
a
seeing in
reflection of
mental health
COVID,
and,
right.
yeah, across the years. This is helpful. Thank you.
Welcome. Alex?
I agree, it's really helpful. And maybe this waits until after you get an assistant back, but like information sharing or other, I'd be curious as to which of those are most well received, because I think that's a real key function of the senior center.
Yep.
And I'd wonder which one's the most utilized, which one do people find the most helpful?
Mm-hmm.
Holly, just for clarification, duplicated and unduplicated, it means that you're doing more than one
Right.
program that day? Okay. Anyone else? This is very helpful, thank you.
You're
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So the next one we have is, just to talk really quick about the Veterans Luncheon. We have the musical group, the Hip Swayers, coming to provide the entertainment. Napoli caterers will be coming in. They'll be doing a buffet with a roasted chicken. We have the volunteers already in place. We're basically, our kitchen volunteers that we have during the day are always around to help us in the afternoon, so we appreciate their help. So the Veterans Luncheon is on November 10th, and it begins promptly at noon. Does anybody have any questions about the Veterans Lunch? So there are 66 lunches available.
Do you
I'm
need,
sorry, did I say 66? I meant to say 76. 76.
do you need help with that?
Not at this present time. Of course, any board member that would like to come, just let us know, because I will be ordering a few extra meals for the volunteers. So if you'll be here, if you want to be present for that, of course, just let me know. I guess I'm pretty sure I need to do an RSVP by November 1st. I guess we'll use that day.
I'll be there, Holly.
Okay. Okay, and moving on, the next one is we have the Seniors Still Believe. So we are still taking donations at the senior center. Donations can be left in the big decorated box right outside the reception desk. We have, I do believe that the Girl Scouts called us, and they're one of the groups, the organizations that are gonna help us collect some items and then get them together. And the other one that people are very excited for is the Holiday Light Tours. We did this last year. The seniors absolutely loved it. We went out 4 different times. And it was just like a really great social gathering, and they all sang Christmas carols and, drove in through town, out of town, and they received a blanket, and they're still talking about it. I wish we could provide more dates to do it, but we'll see how this goes. And so for this one, if anybody wants to come and volunteer, like right before everybody's getting on the van, just to help, put out the coffee and the hot cocoa and stuff like that. Not a lot to do, but just to even experience how they all are. It's a lot of fun.
My husband and I did it last year, and it was as rewarding for us as it was for the seniors. They were tickled sick.
Mm-hmm.
I remember one woman saying to me, "This is the first time I've been out of the house in 25 years."
Oh, God.
And, I mean, it was touching, it really was.
Oh,
But
my.
Cynthia needs help making the cocoa, and
Right.
they were thrilled to get a cup of cocoa. It was a great night.
Yeah, I'll gladly help with that.
Do you
Mhm.
need particular dates?
I did that as well last year.
So really, like I said, there isn't a whole lot to do, but just to experience what they're experiencing, it's a lot of fun because some people cannot drive at night and, don't get an opportunity or don't want to drive it alone.
The van drivers were terrific. They wore their Santa hats and sang Christmas carols as the folks loaded into the vans. It really was, as you say, a terrific night for those who took part in it.
Yeah.
And I hope more people will this year.
You went on the actual tour, or you just greeted the seniors as they?
We greeted, we served cocoa, we gave out the blankets, we gave out the wreaths.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
Did you go on the van?
We did not
You
go
didn't
on the
go on
van. No, the vans were full.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what that was my question. All right, I'll touch base with you about
Okay.
which date or dates work best.
Okay.
You don't have dates set yet?
Yep, they're on the flyer that I had attached.
Oh, I saw that, I didn't read it.
Yep, so
Dates
there's,
are the 13th and 15th of December.
yep, so that is for Housing Authority residents only. So from any of the Towers, Francis Gardens, so it's just for the Housing Authority. And then for the general public, it's December 20th and the 22nd.
But you would want volunteers for all 4 of those dates if you could, correct?
Right. Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
So given that the vans fill up, do you take reservations? Is
Yes.
that-
Yep, so it's a first come, first serve and we don't start taking reservations until December 1st, just to make it fair, because a lot of people only get this information in the newsletter. So even though I put it into the November newsletter, some people might miss it or whatever, and I always try to be as fair as we can on these type of things. And starting it at the 1st leaves plenty of time for people to book their rides. Any other questions on anything? That's all I have.
What are the hip swayers?
They are, I want to say, and I forget what the genre is, but it's like not a sock hop.
Swing?
Yeah, like a swing, yeah.
A musical group.
Yeah, yeah, a musical group.
Okay. I just needed some clarification.
Basic genre. Music, okay.
So under the Veterans Luncheon and the holiday tours, you have volunteers. You were just asking for volunteers for both of those events, is that correct?
So if anybody wants to volunteer
Okay.
for a particular event, please let me know. And of course, if something comes up, like I said, the Veterans Luncheon, that's basically just giving putting the food out for them, because it's buffet, they have to stand up anyways.
Yep.
But a couple of years ago, or last year when we did this, it was a grab and go, and all of us were standing in line and shaking everybody's hands and, thanking them for their service, and they really liked that. So even if the volunteers want to come and as people are coming into their seats, shaking their hand and, thanking them for their service, and then just going on from that. I mean, even that, a shake of a hand goes a long way. So if people want to come in and do that, that'd be great too.
And I remember last year when I was there that there are those veterans who are not as mobile as others, and so, we took these to them because they were unable to stand in line. So it's little things like that too.
Okay. You're set.
Yep.
I know last month on the agenda, we had talked about volunteers, and Judy, you had an issue, and I presented it, but I didn't know if you wanted to go any further with the volunteer.
Yeah, I just didn't, so are we on new business now, old business? My initial question was whether when people volunteer, not the outreach section, but if someone just calls out of the blue or emails out of the blue and says, hey, I'd like to volunteer,
Mhm.
do we have I don't even know what the word is,
Oh, how do we respond to
Process?
that? Do we have a process? Thank you. I'm losing words today. Do we have a process by which we contact that person quickly?
Yep, so normally what happens is, when somebody says that they want to volunteer, we right away give them like the policies and procedures of the senior center, so they understand what is expected of them. We have them read that. If they're still interested, we have them come back and
Lumped together.
depending upon what they want to volunteer for, we do like a quick little 5-10 minute interview just to see kind of like what their experience is, like specifically like if they're going to do something to help me administratively, have they ever worked in an office before or anything like that. So we try to match them up to the best of our ability, and if we don't have anything, we always just say we'll let them know. Sometimes we do have opportunities, and sometimes we don't.
Right, no, it's fine to contact someone and say, you know, right now we'll keep you on a list, but right now we don't have a need. I just wanted to make sure that we do have a process in place by, if someone contacts us, you know, we reach out quickly, because it's not a good feeling when you volunteer for something and people don't
Yeah, now,
contact you.
and you're referring to yourself when you
Well,
ask-
just in general, you know, just in general, I just want to know whether there's a process by which, if anybody, a member of the public more so than the board, if a member of the public reaches out and says, I'd like to volunteer, that we do
Yep.
engage with them.
Yep, we have a policy in place.
Okay.
Okay. Does anyone have any new business? Does anyone have any old business they'd like to bring up? I just have one item. We talked last month about Joy for All program, and we thought, I know you were going to, and you probably haven't had an opportunity to do it with Christine not being here, but we had talked about maybe doing some sort of a pilot program with a few of the dogs rather than, or the animals, rather than purchasing a number of them. And I just thought if we were going to do a pilot program, I would like to see at least something that identifies what the objectives are and what we can use for measurable outcomes as to its success. Because it will get a little bit costly if we buy a sufficient number of those animals.
May I make a suggestion?
Of course.
As I heard you say that, you might want to clarify we're not talking about real animals. You never know how people might perceive that.
What are
We're
they
not buying
actually
real
called?
animals.
They're robotic animals.
Robotic
Robotic
animals.
animals.
I'm going to make that
Thank you
into
for the
minutes.
clarification, Betsy.
I apologize, I was not present for the discussion. Have we determined to buy any at all, or?
No, not,
it's
so
it's still-
no, I just brought in some of we had people fill out slips on why they wanted one. I just put the bag in my office this morning. I haven't even looked at them yet. I know that we sent out flyers to the Meals on Wheels clients, and then they were supposed to call us, and then we would take their information down. So I looked in the bag. It looks like there's maybe 25 responses, so I'll go through those and compile their responses, and we'll just go from there.
Sounds good.
Excuse me, then do you still have one or two of those in your office?
Yeah, so the one at the dog and cat that we have is used for our memory care. So the memory cafe that happens every other Friday, we bring that in, just in case there's like any agitation that might be happening. It's a quick, calm.
Do you know how frequently they're used?
We roll it into their room every time they're there. So it's kind of, like I said, it's one of those things, if somebody with dementia starts to get agitated, you know, the use of those pets are supposed to be a quick kind of calm. Does it work for everybody? No, but we did purchase those for the expenses for the memory care, because we give them the $4,000 for the year. So we did do that. We have like the little baby doll in there. We have some fidget blankets, just so it's available in case any of the caregivers should need something for their loved one.
Holly, who runs that memory care program?
So we have two people. We have Mary Gerber and Karen McKenzie.
And they do it on a regular basis, so
Yep, they
there's
do it every.
continuity.
Yep, I just actually met with Mary last week. They're putting together a really cute brochure for the Memory Cafe. Yep.
Good. Are there other comments, questions? Hearing none, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 10:29. That's got to be